Alrighty, y'all, I finally sat down and did the research because it turns out that based off the video that I put out yesterday, I think it was, time really doesn't add up right now. I haven't slept enough. But I put out a video that brought you another amazing tool for being able to manage your essence on the Necromancer, and that was the inclusion of Bone Prison. Because the interesting thing about Bone Prison is that not only does it generate essence when you trap monsters, but it also generates a ton of essence when you actually cancel it yourself, but not when monsters kill it. And for whatever reason, basically half of my comment section was, thank you so much, this is amazing, it helps me. And the other half of my comment section was, this doesn't work for me at all. Now, that's pretty wild, right? There's no way it either like does or does not work. This isn't Schrodinger's essence generation, right? It's just, it does generate essence when you cancel it. But there has to be a reason why people aren't generating essence when they cancel theirs. And you might notice that I got a bunch of skeletons over here hitting stuff. Ignore them for the time being. We're going to talk about what's happening with Bone Prison, some of the weird things that should interact with it because of this that just don't at all. And then we're going to come back to our minions because I don't know. I think if you're a really try hard, I might have an even stronger option for you to be able to generate essence on the fly, but that one's a little bit weirder. So nothing about the skill Bone Prison should generate essence when you cancel it, when the Bone Prison sections die. There just is no reason for this to happen. It should only generate essence when you trap individuals. And while I did prove that it actually overproduces, it considers even a single monster to be an additional one. So it's already better than what you would think it is. The fact that it's generating essence when you cancel it makes absolutely no sense. Until we go look at my Paragon board, which a couple keen-eyed sleuths have probably already figured out, but I wanted to go test because it's the only thing that made sense. But we pick up a very specific node on Bone Spear and any bone build in general, which is Reinvigorate. Reinvigorate is going to give you essence on kill. That, coupled with the additional 2 nodes here, you can get a total of 4 essence whenever you kill a monster. Now, if you look at Bone Prison, you'll notice that there are 6 health bars because each individual segment of Bone Prison has a health bar and they can be individually attacked. So when one breaks, they don't all break, meaning that a monster doesn't just shatter at all, right? So pretty cool little concept. But it's the fact that they have a health bar, which is the reason why this is working in the first place. We are killing our Bone Prison. We are gaining essence on kill when our Bone Prison dies. But only when we kill it. Because us canceling it or it coming to its natural duration end is triggering as if the Necromancer did it. But if a monster were to attack your Bone Prison and break it, for whatever reason, it doesn't generate essence, because that monster killed it, and you didn't. So let me just go ahead and highlight this here for you. I will take off as many of these nodes as I can. I have to keep this one just to keep it connected here. But you'll notice that I effectively don't generate essence at all when these break. I generate a very, very, very small amount of it at the time. Whereas if I put all of my points back into Reinvigorate, I'll actually generate a lot more essence. And this is where it actually leads to a couple different interesting examples where people are getting the same results but lesser quality versions of it, or you may be running into issues that you should be aware of if you are using this tool. Because the tool is still great, it still absolutely works, you just have to pick up this node. Something that I generally recommend on like most leveling Necromancer builds, because typically you can use Bone Graft as a dex board for one of your Paragon glyphs, and being able to slot over to here for the essence on kill makes leveling a lot easier from 50 to 100, even if you end up respecking this later, but I won't bore you to details there. Let's go ahead and look at Bone Prison. Now that I have as much essence on kill as possible, I use all my essence, generate Bone Prison, and then you'll see there I generated a significantly larger amount. It looks roughly like 4 essence per segment, so that's a total of 24 essence, and then on top of that, I have a large amount of additional essence generation from my rings. An additional 33% here. So we're actually generating 32 essence whenever I pop Bone Prison in this way. Now, if you don't currently have resource generation on your rings, or if you're not like ridiculously lucky enough to already have a Shaco or something like that, you may not be getting the same results as I am, because I am currently focusing on resource generation to be able to make all of my different sources of resource gen that much stronger. And it's ultimately one of the best ways of being able to build a Bone Spear Necromancer without ever really running out of essence. But I'm going to make a whole video about that later, because enough people been asking about it. What this also leads to is a very interesting interaction when your Bone Prison actually doesn't summon all 6 of its segments, which is something I was noticing while playing, but hadn't quite put together the combination logic of I'm killing these things, thus I'm getting essence on kill. But let's look at the example when you actually don't summon as many segments as you possibly can. You'll notice that we actually generate slightly less essence because we're getting 4 less per segment multiply it by 1.3, so basically like 5 less per segment at the end of the day. So if you're like right up against a wall and you're summoning your bone prison and you're literally only getting like 2 or 3 of them, you'll notice that you're going to generate less and less essence. So if you are using this tool, you want to be summoning it into the middle of a large pack of monsters, hopefully to trap as many as possible to get the initial essence. But then on top of that, maintaining all 6 segments and breaking them as soon as possible. Now let's get back to all these wild skeletons that have just been swinging their weapons around. Why do I have these skeletons out at all? Well, if you never saw my video from a while back, there's a very interesting thing that you can do in Nightmare Dungeons, and I haven't retested it in Season 3, but if you were to go in there and summon all of your skeletons and then manually kill all of them by changing what type of skeleton they are, like literally just swapping out either one of the enhancements that they have or removing it from your skill bar, sometimes your minions drop items, namely Angel's Breath, which for whatever reason is coded to just have a certain amount of drop chance in a Nightmare Dungeon so that you always get a minimum amount of it at the end of every dungeon. It's actually very weird. But for whatever reason, your minions, when you kill them off the first couple of times, will generate Angel's Breath, or at least it used to. And then after a certain while, you'll run out. But what that means is that when your minions die, at least some part of the game is recognizing them as monsters, because they're pulling from a drop table that theoretically should only work for monsters or triggered events in a Nightmare Dungeon. But here's the kicker. And I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do in real time so you can follow along as it happens. I'm going to open up my Book of the Dead. I'm going to very quickly swap both my skeletons off to a different type. And I'm going to go ahead and spend all of my essence first. And let's just kind of watch what happens when 12 skeletons all die pretty quickly. Spend my essence, change over my skeletons. And you'll notice we have a metric ton of essence sitting in our pool. Now, if you were to sit here and actually count it out, I generate about 5 essence per second. And while I was fumbling around there, because it's hard to do anything in a quick time event, oddly enough, after generating nearly 100 essence almost instantaneously, that didn't take me 20 seconds. But I'll just do it again really quickly and try to be a little bit smoother this time so you can see just how quickly we are generating this essence. All right, let's go ahead and do it again real quick. I will cast all of my essence, very quickly kill off both of my summons, and I have 90 essence in the bank. Yep. For whatever reason, canceling your minions, removing this skill from your skill bar, or changing them so that they die counts as you killing your minions, and you generate essence when you do that. Now, do I legitimately believe that this is some kind of cool new tech tool that you can use on your Necromancer if you really want to be able to generate 90 essence in the middle of combat to keep going? Probably not. That's pretty ridiculous, right? You would have to use multiple aspects to be able to get additional skeletons on your bar, have a ton of resource generation as it starts, already have the reinvigorate tab, and then be swapping in and macroing out, changing the various skeletons in the middle of combat. I don't recommend it. I don't think you should do this. But why does this happen in the first place? What is it about you canceling a skill or changing a skill that triggers your minions, both your skeletons and your bone prison, which does count as a minion, to generate essence when it dies for you that then benefits from all of your resource generation stats? I don't really know, but I just wanted to explore it a little bit further because I figured, one, there's a reason why people are getting the effects that I'm getting from Bone Prison when other people aren't. But 2, if Bone Prison works this way, then anything that works like a minion should work this way as well. Now, there's one other thing that I did test, because if I'm generating essence on kill from killing my own monsters, I should almost certainly be generating life on kill when I kill my own monsters as well. And that, theoretically speaking, the life on kill is from the Scythe implicit stat. I realize not everybody uses this weapon. But that does technically mean that if I have life on kill and I have temerity equipped, then killing my bone prison should theoretically generate, what is this? 114 life per segment, which is 6 segments. So that's 684 life every single time I use Bone Prison as barrier, which isn't very impressive, but you can get healing received additional bonuses, not only in your skill tree, but on the rest of your gear. You could also put skulls into this for even more healing on kill. But luckily, or maybe not luckily, it kind of depends on how you see this. For whatever reason, killing your bone prison does not generate life and it doesn't generate barrier. I tested this outside on real monsters. I tested to make sure it just wasn't temerity was broken, but no, you do not heal when you have life on kill from a scythe and actually manually break your own bone prison. And then just to run that exact same experiment, but with our skeletons dying, just to make sure that they're not like somehow seemingly different than the bone prison is considered, with temerity on, with Black River on, go ahead and swap these out, and you'll notice that in real time, I'm not generating any barrier. So for whatever reason, essence on kill from the Paragon board triggers off of manually killing your skeletons in your bone prison, but life on kill from weapon affixes does not trigger it. That one's even more confusing if I'm going to be like completely honest with you. I don't know how these two systems are different, but at least now we have our answer. Essence on kill from the Paragon board is what is triggering the essence generation when you manually cancel your own bone prison, and that benefits from your resource generation on gear. So people who are naturally building into bone builds are going to see this benefit. People who are not are only going to get the benefit of initially casting the bone prison, which is still a phenomenal amount of essence, right? Like I just generated 80 essence with 5 monsters here. So it's nothing to sneeze at. But you're not going to get that second boost of essence, something that I'm very much coming to rely on with my own playthrough of this build, just to be able to keep myself topped off and maintaining as high as possible, like the total buffs that you get from having your essence. But I just want to put out this video out there because 1, I want to make sure that like people have the information right. 2, we can actually properly identify about what's going on. But 3, if you were just like sitting there thinking that you're going crazy and for whatever reason can't figure out why it's not working, there you go. But as always, let me know down in the comments if you continue to run into any problems or if you find any cool new interactions. Maybe you found some way to be able to like more quickly macro this relationship with the skeletons and then being able to kill them off more quickly as an essence battery. I'd love to hear from you. That one's like a little bit too niche for most people, but if you're playing around with it, also if you're new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe to it. If you just generally enjoy the videos that have been coming out recently, I've been trying to make sure that like every single video is as good as I could possibly make it. So if you appreciate that, it would be great and it super helps me out. Also go ahead and leave a like on the video, but that's enough of me shilling for myself. Thank you so much for watching this video. I truly hope that it helps, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.